What's up, ladies and gents? In today's video, we're going to be talking all about SNX. We're going to be discussing what we're seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for SNX over the coming days and weeks, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So, of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video. We're going to start off with the shorter term here on SNX and then go on to those 2025 targets. Right now, we are on the 1-day chart. And as you guys can see here on SNX, we've had quite a decent pump over the past few weeks. Of course, we've gone from a value of about 0.6 to a high there of 2.4. So nearly a 4x in this period. Of course, we also saw this massive crash. But this is why SNX stood out to me, because after this crash, we've actually recovered to where the prices were previous to the crash, and prices have continued to go up. So most of crypto right now is still suffering from that flash crash we had a few days ago, whereas SNX is continuing to climb. So it stood out to me as one of the stronger tokens from this crash. Of course, we can also see that if we go on the 7-day performance, SNX is actually number 2 on this list. So again, stood out to me for that reason. But of course, the reason I'm making this video here on SNX is because I do think that prices here on SNX could be going much higher over the coming days and weeks. Now, the reason I say that is because when we zoom out here on the SNX chart and just kind of consider SNX's whole history, we get this as the chart for SNX. So what immediately stands out to me is that SNX has been in a downtrend since its 2021 high, the previous bull run, and it's basically printed some sort of long-term resistance that looks a little bit like this. So you can see that we've had 5 clear tests of this upper resistance line, 2 in 2021 and 3 more along the way down. And of course, the high that we saw over the past few days was in fact yet another test of this upper resistance line. So that explains the kind of sell-off that we've had since getting up to 2.4. We are now at 1.9. So a bit of a sell-off after testing this upper resistance line. And furthermore, if we get the Fibonacci levels here on SNX, you guys can see that we are right by the 0.382 fib, which again is a strong resistance here for SNX. So right now, basically here for SNX, we've got this massive resistance that sits at 2.4. But the exciting thing comes is if SNX is able to break past this upper resistance line, because if it is able to do that, I do think that the prices here on SNX could be going quite a lot higher. And one of the main targets that I have for SNX upon any such breakout is one that is caused by this falling wedge pattern that we've seen here on the chart. So like I say, if prices are able to break out to the upside of this resistance that sits at 2.4, then we could be looking at quite a big price target here on SNX. Of course, it's the distance between the first test of support to the first test of resistance. And if we drag this measuring tool to wherever we could see a breakout here on SNX, let's just say that happens over the next few weeks, we could be looking at a price target here on SNX of about $25, which is very, very close to its previous all-time high. So the fact that the price target from this falling wedge also lies by its previous all-time high gives me extra conviction to the fact that this is a major target here for SNX. So basically, we could be looking at this 10x upon breaking out to the upside of this resistance at 2.4. So of course, if you guys want to get $10 completely free to buy some SNX before we see any such breakout, then don't forget to check out the MEX exchange. As you guys can see on the screen, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $10 to get started. Now, this exchange does not require KYC. The only thing you need to do to get that $10 is to deposit some fiat or crypto into your new account, and then that $10 is yours straight away. So like I say, you can use it to buy some SNX, or you can use it to long short SNX with up to 20 times leverage. Again, link for this is in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Let's get back into this video. So, of course, this is one of the slightly longer term outlooks that we are looking for on SNX. If we just zoom in a little bit to what we are seeing, of course, like I say, we have had a bit of a sell-off, but the indicators are still looking very good here on SNX. You can see that on the 1 day MACD, the bars are still completely green, meaning that on the 1 day timeframes, we're seeing bullish momentum here on SNX. On the 1 week timeframes, we can see that we are also seeing bullish momentum. So we've basically got a green light from the 1 day and the 1 week MACD. And furthermore, if we just compare the momentum of what we're seeing now with this small pump, with this pump that we've seen here on SNX compared to the pump that we saw back in 2021, you can see that this little pump that we've seen here is just a blip on the 1 day MACD when we compare it to the momentum that we saw back in 2021. So this basically tells us that there's plenty of room for the MACD to run to the upside. And of course, if we translate that into the price now, that would of course mean that we do indeed see a breakout to the upside and prices can start heading up to that $25 target that we have here for SNX. Now, another thing that I really like as well about this token is the fact that we have also a very long-term support that looks a little bit like this. Now, you guys can see that here on SNX, from 2018, prices came down to this long-term support, tested it 3 separate times, went to the upside, came back down, and those previous 2 tests that we saw over the past few weeks have come down to this long-term support once again. So in my opinion, in the worst case scenario here for SNX, if we do see a general market sell-off, which I don't think we will, but if we do anyway, then at least we've got a strong support waiting for us down here once again, where prices can consolidate a little bit longer before we see a breakout to the upside. So those are some of the reasons why I really like this token and why I like the chart for the token. So those are some of the reasons why I really like the SNX token and why I think the prices on here are going to be going much higher. Of course, on top of everything as well, needless to say, we are in Q4 at the moment, which is generally a bullish time for crypto. Now, it's been a bit mixed for October, but over the past decade or so, we've seen Q4 being a generally good time for crypto. So in my opinion, there is still that bullish bias, which means that there's a better likelihood of coins going up in general rather than down throughout this period. And on top of that as well, if we go onto CoinMarketCap and just go to the very top, let's give that a quick refresh. We can see that right now, these 2 indicators, the Fiat and Greed Index and the Altcoin Season Index, are nowhere near 100. Now, of course, when we get these 2 values closing in on 100, that's going to give SNX the best possible chance of making another parabolic move like what we saw back in 2021. And of course, right now we are nowhere near that point. And like the saying goes, it says buy the fear and sell the greed. And as you guys can see, the Fiat and Greed Index actually is pointing us to fear at the moment. So in my opinion, now is a decent time to be buying into SNX or whatever your favorite cryptos are, because generally speaking, when this value approaches 100, that is a good time instead to be selling. So of course, that's the silver lining to seeing such low values for the Fiat and Greed Index and the Altcoin Season Index. Very lastly, I do think we are going to get fireworks once again here in crypto. There is going to be a time where we get extreme greed in crypto once again. That means that this indicator is going to be at 80 or above. For the Altcoin Season Index, I do think we are going to get an altcoin season, and we get an altcoin season when this value here is at above 75. Now, we need to see these values both together at these high values, not just one or the other. And when we see both of these values together, above 75 and 80 respectively, that is when we get the best possible chance, like I say, to explode to the upside. So in summary, this is a crypto I am watching because of its structure here on the chart. Of course, we can see that we've been following this downtrend for 4 years now. We've got some sort of falling wedge pattern in my opinion, and prices are pretty close to breaking out to the upside. If we get above 2.4, that could mean we're heading to 25 this bull run. So of course, all eyes on this upper trend line. If we get that clear breakout, we could see fireworks here on SNX. So of course, thank you guys so much for watching. Do let me know down in the comments if you're a holder here on SNX. If you want me to cover any other crypto, feel free to drop the ticker down below or take a look. And if I like the charts, I will make a video about it. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next video.